dear students, this is Dr. Vishali Jain, your English teacher. So today we are going to focus on the chapter entitled The Happy Prince, which is prescribed in your 9th class book Beehive, and this chapter is written by a well-known and great author, Oscar Wilde. So my dear students, The Happy Prince is a very beautiful story written by Oscar Wilde, and it is a tale of a sculpture. Don't forget, it is a tale of a sculpture of the Happy Prince that was covered with golden leaves and precious gems. So my dear students, there are some precious gems also, don't forget, and they are red stone which is fixed in the sword hilt, or we can also say handle, and two precious sapphires which are fixed into the two eyes of the Happy Prince. Sapphire means neelam, जो नीलम का नग होता है, that is very precious also. So the statue was placed at a very high height that it overlooked the city from the top, and one day a swallow bird took shelter under the sculpture as he was flying to the Egypt. Don't forget, this is very important point somehow. He was going to the Egypt, means his other mates have gone and he was going now, and he found on the way out that the Happy Prince was not happy indeed. So he was rather miserable. So the bird asked the Happy Prince the reason for his unhappiness, and the prince told him that when he was alive he didn't know about the miseries and problems of the human lives, because he was a king and he was also lived a protected life, and he was inside the palace also always. And now because he is dead and his statue is fixed at a very high height in the middle of the city, so he is able to see the problems of the public, and now he is very sad at heart, and like he is so much sad that his eyes are even full of tears. So the prince's sculpture was covered with gold and many precious jewels, as we know already. His body was covered with golden leaves, and his eyes has two precious sapphires, splendid sapphires, and there was an enormous red ruby that was shining on the sword hilt. Now the sculpture of the Happy Prince looked marvelous, and everybody praised the beauty of the statue. When the bird saw the prince's eye, which were filled with the tears, and the little swallow bird decided to become the messenger of the Happy Prince, and this made the prince very glad. But obviously, now at first the Happy Prince asked the swallow to take the ruby from his sword hilt and give it to the needy seamstress who had not even a single money to take care of his son. Means उसके son को बहुत ज़्यादा बुखार था, छोटा बेबी था, और seamstress she was very poor. So the Happy Prince sent the red ruby from the sword hilt to that lady. Now the bird did as commanded. The prince asked the little bird to stay and help him as he could not move from that place. And on another occasion, the Happy Prince asked the bird to take out one sapphire from his eyes. See the climax of the kind-heartedness, my dear students. So from his eyes, and offered it to the poor dramatist who could not write his play because of the cold weather, and he was given a deadline also to complete his rewriting by the producer, but he was not able to write. So the bird followed the prince's instructions and gave that one sapphire from the prince's eye to that poor playwright. Now see, one another day the prince noticed a match girl who was ruthlessly beaten by her father for allowing her matches to fall into the canal, means sewage hole. Right. So the prince's heart was filled with pain, and he promptly asked the swallow to pluck out his second eye and give it to that poor needy girl. Now in the beginning the swallow was not ready. He did not agree to do this, but when the Happy Prince convinced him, so he did the same. Now, thereafter, the compassionate bird chose not to leave the Happy Prince, who was completely blind at this point of time. So, my dear students, it is the climax. See, the statue of the Happy Prince is so kind, and here we can see the swallow, little bird. He is also very kind that he decided to pass his whole life in the company of the Happy Prince only because he is now blind, right? Now, despite the fact that the prince could not see the distress and sufferings of the people anymore. The bird stayed with him forever. Upon the instructions of the prince, the swallow removed the fine gold leaves from his body one after another, or up he is looking the poor people, needy people, helpless people, and on the command of the happy prince, the swallow is taking one leaf after the another and giving it to the needy and poor people. And in this way, there came one day when all the leaves of the happy prince were uncovered. Now, it was indeed the leaden heart of the prince that had snapped directly into two pieces. So, my dear students, see. Now it was very cold, and it was very cold, and despite being weary and cold, the little swallow bird didn't leave the prince, because he has promised him that he will not leave him because he has been blind, right? Now he became frail and died from the exhaustion. Means जो little bird है, swallow bird है, he dies due to the hunger, due to the cold, and जो उसकी dead body है, that मतलब जो little swallow bird है, that dies between the feet of the statue, between the feet of the happy prince. Now just then there was a sudden curious crack that came from the inside the sculpture, as though something has broken. So see the climax of the like kind-heartedness. अब क्या हुआ कि the little bird is died. So जो happy prince था, he felt so bad, he felt so touchy, sensitive, कि जो उसका leaden heart था, that broke into two pieces, and it was indeed the leaden heart of the happy prince that had snapped directly into two pieces at that sudden demise of the sweet and kind swallow. So the sculpture was therefore no longer valuable and beautiful, it is stood abandoned. And when the mayor and the town councillor saw the dull statue of the prince, they pulled it down, but obviously. So soon after they melted the sculpture into a furnace. Furnace means bhatti. And yet the broken heart didn't melt, thus it was rendered useless for them. So they discarded it where the dead swallow was lying. See, अभी जहाँ डेड swallow की बॉडी थी, डेड बॉडी राइट, वहीं पर वो जो अनमेल्टेड लेडन हार्ट ऑफ द हैप्पी प्रिंस था ना, उसको भी वहाँ थ्रो कर देते. नाउ बोथ आर टुगेदर. Now soon in the kingdom of God, means in the heaven, the God requested one of his angels to bring the two most valuable things from the city to the heaven. Now the angels brought the leaden heart of the happy prince and the dead body of the little swallow bird. Now God warmly welcomed the two beings in his garden, and like garden of the paradise or heaven, and regarded them as his charming creations. Means he said कि जो अब ये happy prince है और ये little swallow है, they forever they will sing in the praise or dignity of the God itself. Now see, finally we have reached to the conclusion of the chapter, and that is we should show compassion towards the needy and help them in every little way we can. So my dear students, it's all about the chapter, and there are some questions also at the end of the video, and you are also supposed to answer them just to have an idea that how much do you know about the chapter. So until the next video, keep learning and be safe. Thank you.